Take me to your arms and never leave me. Don't leave me, boy. Tell me if you want to follow me now. To follow me. Take me to your arms and never leave me. Don't leave me, boy.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. They're three wide again. Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across. They're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. You know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower.
Break. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look and the switch is going off.
I love it. 18.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out GitGudRacing.com. I've coached hundreds of drivers, from real-life racers to sim enthusiasts, who experience rapid improvement after just one session. And while investing in top-notch hardware is great, imagine how much more you can elevate your experience by adding coaching to the mix. My methods are practical, aiming to break down complex concepts into easily digestible bits that are simple to understand. You can find reviews of the sessions I've conducted on the Fiverr link provided in the video description. Let's elevate your racing skills together. Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out the GitGud course. Instead of just understanding concepts, you'll learn how to implement them directly into your driving. What makes it effective is the approach and practical drills. Together, we're gonna focus on breaking down those complex concepts into small digestible bits that are simple to understand. Everything from the course was tested and refined during the years in coaching sessions, so what I ended up with was the ones that I saw were the most effective. Let's elevate your racing skills together.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chaz Draycott Media and welcome to Season 5 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship, and specifically welcome to Round 13 here from the legendary Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, which of course we all know lovingly as Imola. My name is Chaz Draycott. I'm delighted to have once again alongside me in the commentary box Ed May. Ed, another week of GT3 racing coming our way. What a legendary location this is, and what a difficult track in these cars as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's good to be back. Hopefully, I'll be in a better state than I was last time out. We're going to power through it. It's still not quite out of the woods yet, but we're going to power through. Like all the drivers are going to be powering around this wonderful circuit. It's a track that doesn't necessarily give for the greatest racing, but hot lapping around this circuit is absolutely sublime. And there are some opportunities for overtakes if drivers in front make mistakes coming down through the wonderful Acqua Minerale section. You can be right on them going up the hill towards Variante Alta. And you've also got some great overtake opportunities, don't you, Chaz, in towards the first corner, which I think is where we're going to see a majority of the action. Yeah,
definitely a lot of slipstreaming going on all the way down there, and then hard onto the brakes into the first chicane. Should be an interesting part of the circuit, but these drivers have shown us before now that they can find absolutely anywhere to overtake around a circuit like this. Looking at the championship standings coming away from the doubleheader at Mugello last time out, we have Troy Dolenchek still leading the championship, but Luke Lucchese hot on his heels now ahead of Tristan Dino Brega in third position. Ryan Ottens is in fourth place with John Breitenbach completing the top 5. Christopher Radloff famously running out of fuel at the Mugello round not too long ago, only 1 point ahead of his teammate Luke King. Joe Glass in 8th place, nearly made it work on those dry tyres later on in the race. Gianni Terhar and Matthias Pentila completing the top 10 there. Ed, why don't you take it away with the Premier class, my friend?
So I would do it if I could find the graphics up here on second.
No worries.
We got the Premier class standings, and it is just up on my screen now. Joe Spara for GSD Racing team currently leading the way over Stephen Donnelly, and yet another podium for Joe sees him extend his advantage over his teammate, who I don't think was actually there last time out, so it's again very good for Joe. Matthew Jones there with a podium and a 4th place, starting to reel in the competition, also trying to pull away from Etienne Nagel, who I believe has dropped down into 4th position now. Robin Aston there in 5th with Russell Jakes 6th. Rob Mackay there in 7th. It's very close, isn't it? All the way in those sort of top 10 spots. Marcel Breitenbach only 4 points back. Hussein Sarakar-Desla tied for that 8th place, and Nick Stu not far behind in 10th.
Very, very close indeed. Moving on to the Evo class standings, Malo TA holds on to his championship lead, but not with a great run of form at present. The good form has actually come the way of Martin Kenyon in the Lamborghini. He's now 2nd in the championship, with Archie Craven just behind. The DNF for him, though, in race 2 at Mugello hurt his chances. Dennis Collar has been scoring points, but not podiums. It's Gareth Newton in the other Lamborghini that's been going well. And Danny Weir, 2 podiums from him last time out, so he's looking to carry on that great form there. He's 6th in the championship. He's ahead of James Howarth, Francois Brandet, Graham Matthew and Owen Seward. And of course those guys driving for their respective teams, for which we also have a championship as well, don't we, Ed?
Yes, we do. And it is RDSA Esports currently leading the way. Troy Dolenchek, Tristan Dinobrega and Luke Lucchese carrying on their fine form to extend their advantage over GSD Racing team. Stephen Donnelly, Joe Spara and Joseph Preston. And we have Alpha One Esports, and while we've seen them really take the fight in terms of podiums and potential race victories for RDSA, there's a team they haven't quite been firing on all cylinders. They've dropped behind JSD, currently in 3rd place, just around about 140 points shy of that mark. GlassTech Racing there in 4th, about 100 points off of 3rd, and it's 60 points gap to Tsuma GP2 Lamborghini. That's Kalashaw, Sarakar-Desla and Gareth Newton. We also have other teams chasing down those top 5. It's Barbecue Bread Racing ahead of GlassTech Racing, and then the 2 DXT teams, both together 8th and 9th. And then in the top 10, it's the Zuma GP2 Porsches, Rowan Aston, James Bostock, and Robin Noel Brown.
Yeah, it's all very, very close in terms of the teams. So many points up for grabs. And speaking of points, as you may know, everybody, on iRacing you get incident points, and they are also monitored throughout the season. The safest driver in each class gets a trophy and a prize, or actually the top 5 in each class will get sort of trophies and some sort of recognition for that. John Breitenbach is currently the safest driver in the elite class. You can see that the averages are done there by their races as well and how many races they've been in. We also have Robin Aston now leading the way in Premier, and Malo TA leads the Evo Championship and leads the safety standards as well, so going really well in that Porsche. Currently though, Ed, we just have practice now coming to an end, and it's Luke Lucchese that is top of the pile in the Porsche. Not really a surprise, is it, to see another RDSA car right up at the sharp end?
There we go. The driver just go around for the moment towards the tail end of practice. Qualifying is about to get underway, isn't it, Chaz? And around here, the drivers are going to need to try and work together, aren't they? Because track space is certainly difficult to come by on a circuit such as Imola.
Yeah, definitely. People have called it the Monaco of iRacing sometimes, because it's so narrow and it's so difficult to overtake around a circuit like this. Martin Kenyon is once again outperforming all of the Premier class drivers ahead of him, which is an amazing performance by Martin once more. His form recently has been incredible. A big shout out, by the way, to our championship sponsors. You can just see the AB Designs logo up in the top right of the screen now. AB Designs have got a new logo for the remainder of the season. It has stayed the same on the thumbnail, so please forgive us for that. You can there see the logo of Keenan Eco Energy. We also have Kame, Medius and GitGud Racing as supporters of the championship, and we're very grateful for each and every one of them for their support, not just of the championship itself, but what we do here at Chaz Draycott Media with our broadcasting. It's always good fun to cover this series, and hopefully we'll give you good coverage for the remainder of the season. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this championship comes to a close this time round and how close it is in each of the classes. The Evo class in particular really spicing up now. But there's only a few more rounds left, Ed. We've got 2 30-minute races at Road America in a week's time. Then we head to Hockenheim, and then the end of season round, which is the 2 races at Portimao. Well, that's going to be a post-race broadcast as well, so we have to sort of catch up with that a couple of days after, and it's going to be a very, very tense few days, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's scary how quickly the end of a season can creep up on you. I thought it was, just at halfway through, but now we are into the final stretch of the season, which is certainly very exciting for all the drivers. They're starting to maybe fight that little bit harder now that they know exactly where they stand going into these final 4 race meetings. After night, there will be, like I say, 3 meetings left. Basically 5 races, I think, isn't it? 5 races over 3 meetings.
Yes, it is indeed.
So that's going to be interesting, of course, how the drivers manage. But what's also interesting is qualifying. The drivers need to be very careful around here because of as well of just how narrow the circuit is. It's going to be mainly also about keeping within the confines of the circuit to not exceed track limits and invalidate your laps.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks that really demands a lot of concentration around every single corner. We see Danny Weir. He's been in good form recently, getting those podiums last time out. Screaming his way past the start-finish straight. There's James Bostock in the Zuma GP2 Porsche in the Premier class, the sort of middle division, so to speak. Championship leader there at the moment is the JSD Racing driver. Where's he actually gone? We've got Stephen Donnelly out on track, but where is star member this evening? I don't see Joe Sparrow. Not sure where he is. Nick Stubb back out. We've got Paul Cowlishaw in the Lamborghini as well. Ian Cable back in the Ferrari, the MRC 496 Ferrari. He's got Chris Keenan as a teammate tonight in that Ferrari. I don't think we had him last time round. Sorry, I don't think we had Ian Cable last time round. Marcel Breitenbach in the Audi, once again representing that. Same with Archie Craven. Archie was on absolute fire for the last few rounds, but unfortunately had that little mishap in the second race. It really didn't go his way with the wet conditions. But I think a lot of the drivers tonight, Ed, they'll be really happy to see the conditions back to dry, normal racing conditions, won't they?
Yeah, they will do, of course. they're still going to have to deal with changeable weather conditions later on in the season. The second to last race at Hockenheim is a dry to wet, so basically the inverse of what we saw at Mugello. As mean the drivers aren't quite out of the woods yet in terms of the weather, but for tonight they can at least have some sort of respite from the changeable conditions. Seeing them now really trying to push through that first chicane. They come up to the Villeneuve as well. You can really attack the curbs through here. You kind of have to essentially to get any sort of quick lap time. Avoid that second one because it does really scuff your ability to get the power down. Bounce it around, there's just no traction. Then out Tosa, go for that late apex, really maximising the space on the outside. You can use most of the runoff area, but not too much because you will find yourself running foul of track limits. Same here, right the way through Piratella, really chucking it through, actually very nicely in between track limits. You can run a little bit wider out of there, but Tristan de Brega opting to get at least a time on the board before anything else. Then up through there again. I think iRacing used to be a lot more harsh on the track limits, but they have sort of been a bit more relaxing when you come up through Variante Alta and through Grassini, formerly known as Variante Alta. That's a really tricky one to stay within the lines of, because especially on the exit, the car just wants to drag out wide, and it's so easy to get a track limit penalty coming through there.
And the thing is as well, you're managing a weight transfer through there where the car goes right, then left, and over curbs as well, and then you're going on AstroTurf with that right rear wheel, trying to get on the power. There's so many things that the car is doing all at once, and you're trying to kick its head in through a chicane, and it'll just either understeer and run wide, and you'll get either a slowdown penalty or an incident point for going over the track limits, or you'll spin the car over to the left if you try and go too tight. Tristan de Brega goes fastest. John Breitenbach is second at the moment. Martin Kenyon third overall. He's ahead of all the Premier drivers again. Marcel Breitenbach into fourth position ahead of Robin Aston. And then we have a newcomer tonight, Mark Jardine, by the way, in the, it looks like an MRC car actually that he's driving. I didn't have him down as anything other than privateer though. He's in the Porsche, and apparently in the elite class, it says on the back of there, on the back of the car, so we'll get that fixed and get him up into the necessary class. But Jardine currently 10th fastest at the present moment, so I'll go and get that fixed, shall I? Because I'm going to go off what's written on the car, because these guys, they don't mess about with their liveries. Pretty sure it's MRC 496 that he's going to be with, because the other two 496 cars are that yellow and black design, so we'll figure that out. Timing will reset. It's Luke Lucchese that's now fastest though, Ed, by nearly half a second. Wow. Rapid stuff.
Very impressive. I was actually going to say hats off to Martin Kenyon, because he was only half a second off of the pace set by Tristan de Brega. Then John Breitenbach went a little bit quicker, but blast them all out of the water. Luke Lucchese, a very impressive time. I don't think we saw quite the best lap though from Tristan de Brega. He did look to be going a little bit more cautious around there, and I think on his second lap he was, maybe not quite as out of shape as Atti Nagel is, just coming through. Is that Aqua Minerale?
Yes, that was Aqua Minerale. One hell of an off through there. Let's have a quick look back at this. Heads down the hill. I think maybe just clips the Astro on the left-hand side under braking. Yeah, car breaks away, almost hops through the air. But that was only 2 laps in the books for Atti, so he's got time to do more laps in this one. Good to see Hussein Sarakadesla back out there, second fastest in his class at the moment. You can see on the left-hand side. Second quickest in the Premier class. Martin Kenyon improves, and he's half a second clear of everyone else in the Evo class right now. It's really close in Premier, wow. So all these guys spread out at the present moment, except for the Premier class.
Archie Craven improving up to second in the Evo class. His fine run of form continuing on with him and Martin Kenyon. I think it's fair to say across the halfway point of the season have really become the class of the, Evo class. Have been really taking it by the scruff of the neck. Very excited to see how the rest of the season shapes out with them fighting out in front. Anthony Newton moving up into third in Evo, running on board with Hussein Sarakadesla, who's really chasing down Marcel Breitenbach for lead of the Premier class. And really just trying to hook up that late apex, but the car just didn't seem to want to turn in for him.
No, it didn't want to play ball there, did it? We've got Matt Hoyland, by the way, who's done 3 laps so far, and none of them have been valid times. He's been outside of track limits on each of them in the GlassTech and DXT Lamborghini. So this being his final attempt, he's got to be very, very careful here not to overdo it. As up near the front, there's been more and more changes because Ryan Ottens has gone 4th fastest, just 5 thousandths of a second ahead of Joe Glass. We'll keep our eye, though, on this man, Matt Hoyland, the final car in the elite class not to set a time so far. See what he can do. Looks like a tidy exit out the final corner. Hugs the wall on the right all the way to the line. What is he going to be able to set as he crosses the line? Matt Hoyland goes 8th in class. And it is a 1:42.41 for him. Stephen Donnelly about to cross the line with the purple sector on the board here. Can he improve and get near the top of the times? Yes, he can, Ed. Just over a tenth of a second.
Very impressive there by Stephen Donnelly. This didn't seem as low as he was, and now he's improved. And now Martin Breitenbach goes ahead of Martin Kenyon. That'll be just the top of all of the Evo cars. Following now Owen Seward in his Oro Motorsports Porsche. Just going through this final corner now. Same with Graham Matthew up to the line, completing his final qualifying time, and he's not been able to set a single lap time yet either. Is this going to be something different potentially for Graham? He does set a lap time, currently best for 7th in class. Francois Brandet going to complete his first lap. Not sure if he'll get time to complete all of the 4 he has available to him. Goes up into 6th place in class.
Scott Kostrek has just completed his session and he heads into the pit lane. But James Howarth and Dennis Collar are also just on their first laps of the session as well. So there's a few of them that haven't gone out straight away here, and they're taking their time getting round to it. James Howarth's car looks absolutely fantastic, doesn't it? Really, really cool livery on this thing. It's got a proper chalkboard front end though. There's absolutely zero light. Is it called like Vantium Black or something?
Vanta Black, I think.
Vanta Black, yeah. Where it doesn't reflect any light at all. Gone absolutely bonkers with the matte effect there. There is no sheen off that car whatsoever, but still looks mighty spicy for it. He's just coming down to Rivazza now to complete his first lap of qualifying. Still 4 minutes on the board though, so decent bit of time left to go. It's good that they all get enough time to set a couple of laps at least. The drivers all get given a chance. A lot of them do stay out a lot in practice until the very end, then decide when qualifying goes live. They'll then go for a wee, get a drink, whatever. As across the line, James Howarth goes in only 11th fastest though. Not as quick as he would have wanted to go there. Dennis Collar next up to the line. What can he do? He's been a front runner in the class all season. No valid time from him though, Ed, and he has to try and set another one now.
Yeah, he'll have enough time to set one more time. Maybe a second one as well if he's lucky. Yeah, it's getting towards the tail end of qualifying for the moment. You can see that, again, it's just a lot of drivers have been struggling to really get their time set because of just the nature of the circuit, how narrow it is, how hard you're having to push to really get any sort of tenth of a second where you can, because the field is also just so competitive. Drivers are sort of forced into that situation of pushing harder than they might be comfortable with.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really, really intense field, this. Some really fast drivers. It's so competitive, and everybody feels like they have to push to be right amongst it. But this is one of the tracks that will give you absolutely no remorse whatsoever. You can very easily just kiss the edge of track limits here, and there's so many curbs that you have to try and push over as well. A lot of blind apexes as well in some places. It means you go over the crest of the hill down the left before Acqua Minerale. The exit is pretty much blind, so you have to be really careful not to let the car run out too wide. Acqua Minerale there, or Grassini as it is now known, as Ed rightly pointed out earlier. There's also another bit where it's pretty blind. Dennis Collar is just getting to the end of his lap now, Ed. See what he can put on the board. Looked a little bit lively through there, didn't it?
Yeah, sometimes the best laps are a little bit lively. You're always on the ragged edge of grip, just fighting the car in that little delicate balance. By the very end, once the breakaway, Dennis Collar coming over the line, doesn't seem to be setting any valid times. I think he just came over the line in time to set this, but this is going to be his final attempt at a time on the board. He's looking all right there through that first sector in towards the second chicane. You could hear the tyres just squealing a little bit in discomfort.
Whoa.
Again, fighting to try and keep it on a straight line in the exit. A little bit too eager on the throttle, maybe. Again,
He's pushing.
trying to get it hooked up, but he's pushing too hard, and again, the car's just not responding. You think he's overcooked the tyres.
Yeah, he's over-rotating the front end, and then when he wants to try and get the power on, the car's saying, nah, you're all right. Really, really on it here is Dennis Collar. No holding back whatsoever. But it looks like it's a very exciting lap at least. Really cuts the inside of Acqua Minerale, lets it run to the outside, throws it in, straight lines it up the hill as much as possible. Little bump on the left. Ati Nagel has improved on his time, but remains only 7th. Here we are onto the brakes into Acqua Minerale. The drivers are a little bit lower down than our camera, so you can't see that much of the corner. Whoa, that was hit and miss for me there over the crest, Ed.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. We'll see. It was very, very close. And this is another area where you can easily just take a little bit too much on the inside. Through there, it looked fine on the exit as well, but this is a real killer. And I think he's just about got that perfect. Again, on the exit, you don't get pinged for that. So we'll see now. As he makes his way up to the line, he hugs it very tight. Knows he won't be able to go around for a second time. What will it be for Dennis Collar? He does set a lap time. Just about, and that's good enough for 5th fastest.
Right at the death there for Dennis Collar. That was mighty, mighty close. And that, of course, brings qualifying to an end and now gives us our grid for round number 13 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. Luke Lucchese takes another pole position for RDSA Esports. He's ahead of Tristan Dinnebrega, John Breitenbach and Ryan Ottens. Joe Glass and Paul Cowlishaw make up row 3, while Christopher Radloff sits 7th, just in front of Marcel Breitenbach, who is the highest placed driver in the Premier class. Martin Kenyon, highest placed in Evo again, 9th overall. Great qualifying by Martin. Matt Hoyland lines up in 10th. Next up is Stephen Donnelly with Luke King alongside him on the 6th row of the grid. Luke will be hoping to get further up than that during this 1 hour long race. Hussein Saraka Desler is next up with Robin Aston alongside him. Then it's Nick Stubb and Archie Craven in the Audi. He's 2nd in the Evo class, 16th overall. Russell Jakes next up with Ian Cable alongside him for the MRC 496 squad. Then it's Ati Nagel alongside Gareth Newton, who completes the top 20. We then have Robin Noel Brown alongside newcomer Mark Jardine in the Porsche. Then we have James Bostock and John Ludbrook together on the 12th row of the grid. Next up is Dennis Collar, who we were just on board with there. He's alongside Bruno Silva for Ludcrook Racing. Ashley Brooks and Francois Brandet make up the 19th row. If I could do maths, it'd be great, wouldn't it? Then we have Scott Kostrick and Owen Seward, who round out the top 30. Of course, not the 19th row, Chaz. That was row 14. Chris Keenan, 31st, and Graham Matthew, 32nd, ahead of Joseph Preston for JSD Racing Team, Danny Weir, and James Howarth, who completes the 35-car field here at Imola for this next round of the championship. And we just wait for one more car to make its way to the sort of pre-grid here, Ed, and the whole field will get moving away. In terms of the conditions, though, it's going to stay dry, but it's not particularly hot out there, is it, in these morning conditions here at Imola?
No, it doesn't seem to be, but that does obviously help the drivers with their tyres, not having to worry too much about them getting overcooked and sliding around. It does also mean the track is perfect temperature for drivers out in front to really just start to hot lap. And when you get into that flow state around here, it's a magical thing. And other times, if you're not on it, it just becomes such a frustrating evening. So we're going to find out very soon who's at one with the circuit and who is going to have, well, a long hour ahead of them.
Yeah, we usually expect 2 pit stops from these races. We have seen some in the past where it's only been 1 stops, so we never know what to expect. I don't really think this is much of a fuel-saving circuit, is Imola. We'll have to see what the drivers make of it on the night, though. But it's great to be back once again here on Chaz Draycott Media for another round of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. Thanks once more to championship sponsors Kame, Medius, Keenan Eco Energy, GitGud Racing and AB Designs. Really appreciate your support, and of course the guys behind the scenes as well that run this championship and work so closely with Ed and I to bring this together and do what we can do. Hello to everybody in the chat. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves so far this evening. Thank you for jumping in and watching with us. I hope that you are entertained, and you're about to be, because the hour-long race that is round 13, unlucky for some, is about to get underway. They all bunch up now out of Rivazza, the final corner. It's Luke Lucchese on our right of screen, with Tristan Di Nobrega on the left. And the RDSA boys will choreograph this start and get them ready, as the lights will come out, and we will be underway and racing for round 13 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. And Lucchese goes now, and we're underway. Listen to this. Fantastic sounds as they all head down towards the first corner, and Martin Kenyon is battling for the Premier Class lead. Even though he's in the Evo class, he's actually fighting with Premier Class leader Marcel Breitenbach in the Audi. There's 5.2 litre V10s everywhere. Bit of a battle going on in front here. Joe Glass side by side with the Lamborghini, and there's contact into the Villeneuve chicane, and he's off the road, and so too is Christopher Radloff. He's Radloff the road. He recovers nicely. Joe Glass somehow not getting collected by anybody else there. Was there a bit of drama further back? Seemed like everybody just slowed down for the incident a bit there, Ed, but 2 into 1 didn't go that time round.
No, it didn't at that moment in time, but I think Radloff actually did quite well to avoid a lot of the contact there, having to lose a lot of places by going off the road, but did the right thing and has a clean car to try and make a charge back up through the field. Going now, Robin Aston, 4th place in the Premier Class. Nearly losing out there as Nick Stoop had a great run coming through that coming round, but had to get onto the brakes to avoid going into the back of the Suma Porsche that we are on board with now as we come up to Grassini. You have to be so careful as well not to get any slowdown penalties, because especially on these first couple of laps they really do hit you hard.
Oh, Mark Jardine having a little bit of a run-in with Francois Brandet there, and it looks like in the background there's been some drama. Joseph Preston and Graham Matthew coming to blows here. Let's just listen to this gorgeous Lambo. Oh, never mind. It's a bit broken. James Howarth was involved in that. Bruno Silva has just had a drama as well. This is James Howarth then. It's the JSD Porsche in front. Oh, there was a bit of a check-up, and oh, they all just slam into one another. That was really, really unfortunate stuff that though, Ed. Easily done. Let's see what Bruno Silva's had going on.
Let's see here, Bruno in the Ludcook Racing Porsche.
Whoa.
Actually had to go to the inside to more avoid any contact, but then still gets there on the inside. Side-to-side contact, and the car just doesn't play ball. It seems like he already had a little bit of damage beforehand. Goes up the inside, basically just to take evasive action, really, and then just the car brushes aside each other and seems to swipe Bruno off the circuit.
Yeah, it's weird that we've seen a bit of that recently with iRacing's updated damage model, as Ian Cable is sampling it right now, actually. He's on the exit of Tosa, and he is in the wall. I'm not sure whether he's been turned around by anybody. It doesn't look like he's got any damage on the left rear. We'll just wait and see what he does with this. He's doing the right thing, though. He's waiting for the whole field to go by before getting going again. Now, did he jump or was he pushed? That's the 210 machine of Joe Glass behind him. He's down the inside of the Porsche. There's one touch and then another. I don't think Joe Glass really expected him to be that much slower on the exit because of that touch, but that was a real unfortunate little incident there. But it happens. So to recap, Luke Lucchese leads 4 South African drivers in the elite class, which is Lucchese, Di Nobrega, Ryan Ottens and John Breitenbach. Martin Kenyon is 8th overall in the Lamborghini and leading in the Evo class ahead of all the Premier Class drivers. Get that man a promotion, they say. Marcel Breitenbach leads in the Premier Class. He's ahead of Hussein Sarakadesla, who has got Stephen Donnelly, well, not too far off his chuff, as they say. He is chasing him down now into the very first chicane, Tamburello. Stephen Donnelly, quite a high point scorer in the Premier Class so far this season though, Ed, isn't he? So he wants to continue that on for the remainder.
Yeah, he's going to have Get it from now. Stephen Donnelly. Let's try and get a bit of a shift on to get ahead of Sarkadeslos. Look at this up the inside. Brilliant move there by Radloff. I think tried to catch off. Was that actually Craven a little bit? But to be fair, actually saw it coming, and after initially turning in, basically had to back out of that one. So brave stuff by Christopher. Made it very clear what his intentions were, and basically gave Archie the choice of either turn in or don't turn in, or we're going to have a crash.
Indeed. He left the decision up to Archie there, and I think, to be fair, we've seen clever stuff from Archie before. He knows what the cars around him are doing. That's Scott Kostrick and his teammate Chris Keenan. It sounded like somebody was having a drama there. Who was that? That's one of the Ferraris. Is that Ian? No, it's not Ian Cable. That is Chris Keenan. That's just had a spin. He's got his teammate in the fellow Ferrari just ahead of him. Those guys having a bit of a tough time. Paul Cowlishaw trying to chase down Breitenbach has got Matt Hoyland filling his mirrors as well in this Lamborghini tussle. But an interesting start to the race. Only a few spins here and there, not too much contact or issues, although I say that, and Owen Seward has just gone way off the road in the Porsche and into the barrier. Bruno Silva is arriving on the scene. Ashley Brooks is, well off in the wall in the Corvette. No front end left on that car. Something serious has happened here. Chris Keenan had his spin just before that. Let's quickly recap on this. Oh, the car's already damaged, and then it just over-rotates on the brakes. Nightmare into Tosa. This is what happened here with Owen Seward and Ashley Brooks. Owen's got the run and looks like a little overlap. Oh, I don't know if Ashley knew he'd got alongside. No, but Ashley's going to go flying into the wall. That is a big old hit. We'll go on board with Owen. He gets the run, you see, out of the corner, doesn't he? And then...
He's really going for it now. Yeah, you can see his eyes are lighting up. You're thinking, right, this is my chance. I'm going to go for it.
It's just... I don't know whether it's understeer off the curb or not, but I think he's still touching it when him and Ashley make contact there.
I can see from that there's no just gap left by Ashley, unfortunately. I don't know if he gets the call late that there's a car up on the inside. If he just misjudges the amount of space he's leaving on the inside through that right-hand kink, because it's so tricky through those high-speed flat-out kinks to know exactly how much room you are leaving.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think it was just a case of misjudgment, or maybe just not quite being aware of the car on the inside, but that's really hurt Owen quite badly.
And Ashley's own race as well, unfortunately. He will not enjoy watching that one back, I'm afraid. Sorry, Ash, if you are watching this. Francois Brandet we're looking back from. He's got Robin Noel Brown and Dennis Collar just behind him. They are 4th, 5th and 6th in class right now in the Evo class. They've got Mark Jardine on the back of this as well, the elite class driver. But just up the road, they've got series admin James Bostock having a good old run. He's just a few seconds up the road. We're going to suddenly shift forward to Christopher Radloff, who's got the JSD Porsche and the Sumo Lamborghini of Stephen Donnelly and Hussein Sarkadesla respectively just in front of him, and they're fighting for 2nd and 3rd in the Premier class here, Ed.
Yeah, he's going well, Hussein, at this moment in time. But Martin Kenyon in the Evo class, oof, what a job he's doing to stay out in front. Got nearly a 5-second gap to Archie Craven in behind. The action is really hotting up, isn't it? All around Stephen Donnelly, looking for the move on Sarkadesla, while also being aware that Christopher Radloff, he's charging hard and is looking to make up some places following the ones that he lost earlier on. Trying to get back up to the other Alpha 1 Esports car up ahead, Luke King. Going to chase down at that 7th place spot. That's all Stephen Donnelly. Little mistake, and pouncing right on top was Christopher Radloff.
Radloff goes through. That was a very, very nip and tuck moment, that, wasn't it? Radloff had to be very quick on the avoidance. Donnelly manages not to lose any further places. No places in class lost there. But Marcel Breitenbach is the one leading the Premier Division on this one at the minute in the Barbecue Bread Racing Audi R8 LMS Evo 2 GT3 TDI, whatever it's called this week. Fantastic looking race car though, and especially in that livery, really do love it. But right at the front of the field, Luke Lucchese has a 1.7 second gap over Tristan Dinabrega, his teammate. Ryan Otton's best of the rest in 3rd place at the moment, trying to chase him down. John Breitenbach next up, and then Paul Cowlishaw, the first car in the field that isn't a Lamborghini. He's got Matt Hoyland just behind. Matt has gained 4 places in this race. Luke King has gained 5 actually, started 12th on the grid. I said earlier he'd want to be improving on that. Francois Brandet has gained 7 places. Danny Weir is actually the biggest mover in the field by the look of it. He's gained 8 overall. And he has moved up into 26th position on the road. Currently sitting 7th in class. We'll go back to this though, because Archie Craven, while he's 2nd in this class, in the Evo class, he's got Premier drivers around him, and they're trying to have their own fight for podium positions. So a bit of a tricky spot to be in here.
He's really just struggling at this moment in time, because you can see that he might have the pace to stick with them and maybe to catch Martin Kenyon, but just with all of the racing and the battling going on ahead of him, he doesn't have that clear air to make the most of it. It comes to a point now where you think, is it better to maybe take a slightly earlier pit stop, see if you can find yourself in clearer air, roll the dice so to speak, and see what comes of it. Again, really just struggle to put the power down. I think that's something that the Audi doesn't quite have in comparison to the Porsche, is that immediate put down of the power on corner exit, because through the corners you could see Archie really doesn't have the speed, but just on the way out of Grassini, the car just didn't quite have that same level of grip, maybe not quite stability to put the power down. When you compare it to the Porsche, you can see as well, just coming out that final corner, the way that Stephen Donnelly is just able to punch out the corner. It's just such a struggle for the Audi to really try and match that.
Yeah, it is indeed. I think the Audi's got quite good legs in a straight line though. It's always seemed like a bit of a slippery car, so I'd imagine it's pretty decent top end. It's not something the Porsche has always been known for, because it was always quite a tall, draggy car, wasn't it, the Porsche, compared to some of the sort of lower slung Audis, Lamborghinis and McLarens, for example, even the Ferraris as well. Bit of a battle going on just behind as well as Joe Glass recovers from his earlier off. Did really well not to get tangled up in anything else, to be fair to him, and great avoidance by Christopher Radloff going around the outside of the whole incident onto the grass and the gravel. John Breitenbach is right with Ryan Ottens here for 3rd position outright. These two are getting closer and closer lap by lap. John Breitenbach was 1.6 seconds quicker on that previous lap, so maybe a slowdown penalty or something for Ryan Ottens. We've seen him push quite hard before in races, haven't we, and just trip himself up a little bit, so maybe just trying a little bit hard to get back with those RDSA cars at the front.
Yeah, it might be that sort of issue where you are just chasing time, and it's so tricky to try and catch up to those guys ahead. Once you get behind, you push harder and make more mistakes, and you just find yourself slipping away that little bit from the leaders up ahead. And Ryan might be just getting into that stage of the race, and I think now he needs to shift his focus from the cars ahead and maybe start to prioritise keeping John in behind. Still in the podium places is Ryan, so a 3rd place is a solid result for his championship as well, for Alpha One in their team's championship as well. Let's not forget they do have 3 drivers here tonight, whereas RDSA are missing Troy Dolinshek. It's just the 2 RDSA Esports drivers out in the lead as Archie Craven. What were we saying earlier? Is it maybe the time to go into their pits, see if he can get some clear air and try and chase down Martin Kenyon? Well, that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, great call. Really great call that is. We're expecting 2 pit stops over the course of this race, everybody, and I'd say that Archie Craven has done the exact right thing there. He's gone, you know what, there's a battle going on here in a different class. I don't want to disturb them. They are disturbing me in my sort of quest for this class lead. I'm just going to do what I can do. Christopher Radloff has got past Marcel Breitenbach now in his way up the order. Marcel racing for the lead of the Premier class, so he's not pushing too hard to fight with any of these elite guys, because he's got 1.7 seconds back to this man, Hussein Sarika Desla. Well, Martin Kenyon, and he's been absolutely excellent, hasn't he? He's really switched this form on. As we said last time, we've broadcasted and commentated on Martin a lot in Chaz Draycott Media Run Championships. And it's been great to see his development and his consistent improvement in pace, but here he's absolutely come alive in these GT3 cars. Guy in Stitchbury wondering if it is a 2-stop. I'm pretty sure it's always been 2 stops in the 1 hour long races. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I'm not sure if the fuel tanks aren't as limited as they used to be. Not that I remember. We'll have to see. It does say pit stop and then in brackets with an S. So, we'll see. We'll see. It does say that they'll have standard iRacing fixed setups with a standard amount or percentage of fuel in the tank. So we'll see. Yeah, I would have thought that we'd have 2 stops again. And oh right, okay. Right, okay, so it's 50 litres fixed for the start apparently. So right, so so I
think they're probably able to brim it now.
Yeah, they are able to brim it in the stops. Thanks for updating us on that, guys. I wasn't aware that had changed, or when that had changed, whether that was between seasons. But I think since we'd had the 2-stop 1-hour races in the previous season that we did, I think we just sort of expected that to be the same. So sorry. Speaking of saying sorry, Robin Noel Brown will be saying sorry to Francois Brandet. That Porsche has been knocked from all angles by the look of it. There's Francois' machine. It's a little bit wobbly through Tosa. Might have a bit of rear-end damage from that one as he went through the Villeneuve chicane. Dennis Collar in the mix as well. Then Mark Jardine just behind in the MRC 496 car as John Breitenbach is off. And around 2 is Ashley Brooks. That is MRC 496 driver Ashley Brooks around. Hopefully no contact between the two of them there, because Ashley down in 33rd position will not want to have made a nuisance of himself, will he?
Of markage on the front end. We'll have a look and see. Ooh, he gets thrown offline. Oh, dearie me. So is he thrown offline there by, is that Ryan Ottens going through? I think Ryan was expecting Ashley to be slowing down more, maybe expecting him to let both of the cars through. Not just to let through the one and then the other, but again, that was a little bit cheeky by Ryan, who didn't quite have... I mean, he got his whole car in front, but then...
Yeah, I think there's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other there. There is minimal room left by Ryan, but at the same time, I think a lot of us would have expected Ashley to slow down a lot more there.
Especially as lap traffic.
Yeah, that's what I mean. As the lapped car maybe just say, you know what, I'll pull over to the right, I'll let you 3 go through, because there was a bit of a gap. But still, it is what it is now. It's happened, and the guys have to recuperate from it. Stephen Donnelly's running in 3rd position here in a bit of a sandwich, but he doesn't have to worry about the car behind him, because that is Joe Glass in the elite class, and he is not fighting in for class position. Joe may do what he can to get through and be quicker on paper, but Stephen will want to focus on the car in front of him, which is Hussein Sarakadeslet in the Suma GP2 Lamborghini Huracan. It's not a bad car to be following for this long in a race, is it?
I've just had a look as well, and Sean Breitenbach did come into the pits. I'm not sure if it was damage related. It looked to be more potentially just to get a bit of a reset going. After you've had an incident like that, you can easily get frustrated. So even just the mental reset of spending about 30 seconds in the pit lane where you're not doing anything, you're not racing, you've not got that adrenaline pumping, good to just calm you down and then set you sorted for the basically remainder of the race. That's good thinking by Sean after that incident, just to come in for that pit stop as that Stephen Donnelly overtaken by Nick Stoob, who was actually, I think, letting through, is that Joe Glass?
Yeah.
And then just gets a bit of an opportunistic move chucked on top of him, and Nick Stoob, and Oswald could be coming back now. As you can see, the MRC Porsche is trying to chase him down, but actually backing out of it for now.
Yeah, I think he didn't want Stephen to have to defend too hard into Tamburello, because he wants to still play with the cars in front. He wants to still be a part of that group, so to speak. Archie Craven has had a bit of a drama actually on his recuperation back up the field. Let's not forget he pitted early in the GHR K1 Esports Audi. This is going up through the top of the hill. He's clipped the grass there, and the car has gone around on him. It's floating its way towards us. Gets going again, but that will have lost him a lot of time. Apparently off the circuit there for nearly 7 seconds, Archie Craven. That will not help him catch Martin Kenyon. Joe Glass, though, really having to fight his way back up through the order. Now in front of Nick Stubb, who holds on to 3rd place in the Premier class at this present moment. Paul Cowlishaw is only just in front of fellow Lamborghini driver Matt Hoyland as well. These two close together. Let's see what these two can do. Can come together for a fight maybe. Jump on board with Matt to listen to that glorious V10. And we're nearly at a 3rd race distance here, Ed. 41 minutes left to go. Only a few pit stops so far. We've only had about 7 or 8 cars in. So I think most of these guys are just trying to use all the fuel they can.
Yeah, just again, most amount of time you can spend with the car as light as possible is just free time essentially. So I think the drivers are trying to prioritise is running it down to as low as it can go. Zone Seward there. So basically just let a lot of the field go past. He's off the circuit here, and this is in towards the final couple of corners. Does he get maybe a little tag from behind? Slows on the apex. He's trying to slow it onto the apex and actually cut to the inside to let, that was the Alpha 1 Porsche through.
Yeah,
so he was kind of doing the right thing by the looks of things.
Yeah, it was Luke King that just gave him a little bit of a tap there, and he was just indeed trying to do the right thing, and unfortunately I don't think Luke expected him to be that much slower on the apex. We see it a lot where a car will be a little bit slower mid-apex of a corner, and when you've got the muscle memory of going through it at a certain pace, it can be hard. It can be hard to avoid a moment like that, especially in these GT3 cars that can be quite sensitive. They can be very sort of light on their feet sometimes and a bit wobbly and all over the place. If you do sort of stamp on the brakes or make any sudden movements mid-corner, you will throw the car around into a spin and you will upset what it's doing. Robin Aston has had a moment. Let's see if he's done exactly what we've just explained there.
Let's have a look and see. Robin Aston in towards turn 1. Does he tap the grass on the way in?
Whoa.
No, instead he just carries far too much speed into the corner itself.
And then he just
decides to...
Yeah. Straight out.
Not sure if someone was potentially distracting him or what. Hopefully everything's all right with Robin there. Do you see? Well, another Robin we're on board with, Robin Noel Brown.
Oh, that way, son. Left.
That was very scary, not just for Robin, but also, whoever that was just up ahead of him, was that John Ludbrook.
It was, yeah. He almost had to pay to get back in there, did Robin, and he's now got a slowdown penalty to serve as well. Down his inside goes Mark Giardini in car 276, and again, Rivazza always catches people out like that. When you have to take a wider line, it's really weird. It just drags you onto the gravel. It's a horrible corner for that, and it happens a lot. We've got Hussein Sarakadesla still second in the Premier class at the moment. He's got Joe Glass between himself and Nick Stubbs, so he doesn't have to worry too much at the moment about defending this second place, but he'll want to, of course, catch Marcel Breitenbach, who is here just over 2 seconds up the road. But speaking of up the road, Martin Kenyon with a 16.6 second lead in the Evo class. He's a man inspired at this later stage of the season. It's brilliant.
Martin Kenyon again, yeah. Really just commanding the Evo class from the front. What we saw last time out as well in the wet, he looked quite at home there. A few mistakes though, wasn't there? I think in the first race is what sort of sent him right now just a touch, but doesn't have to worry about the weather now. He can just focus on himself and the circuit, and it might be into that stage, which I was saying earlier, where you don't have to worry about cars ahead of you or behind. You can just focus on yourself, the car and the circuit on a track like this, where it's just pretty much every single type of corner. You've got fast sweepers, a few little high-speed kinks, chicanes that then blend into other chicanes. Got a hairpin as well up Tosa. It's just every type of corner pretty much, and it demands a lot of the drivers, but for me, I just love it. It's such a wonderful circuit. The elevation as well when you come up towards Piratella, plunging down through Acamorale. If you're in Martin Kenyon's position, it just becomes a really, really fun evening.
Absolutely. And Rob in the chat is saying that Kenyon is Yanis Albert's Smurf account.
That explains a lot, to be fair, I think, wherever Yanis has gone. Maybe not where Martin's pace has come from, because we've always known him to be a quick driver, but he has really come on this season, I think, as a driver to look out for.
He's always been a quick developer as well. He's always picked up cars and developed quickly and improved quickly in whatever we've seen him in, because between us, we've seen him drive in all sorts of disciplines in iRacing. So it's good to see that he continues that on. Robin Noel Brown had another little moment just earlier. I think he's going to kiss the grass on the right here. No? Oh, just on the downshift there as he comes off the brakes. The car goes around, and that is not somewhere you want to be. Whoa, scary stuff there. That was Danny Weir just going past him. Luckily, no contact there. As we look back at the front of the field, Luke Lucchese's gap at the front is only getting bigger here, Ed. He did 1:41.7, 0.3 of a second quicker than Tristan Dinabrega last time. Let's see what it looks like this time, shall we? Oh, actually, Dinabrega quicker that time round, 41.8 to the 41.9 of Luke Lucchese. And the two of them, well, a couple of tenths quicker than Ryan Otton's as well. Starting to, well, continuing to get away from them.
Yeah, it does seemingly trend in the favour of Luke Lucchese, although, like you said, Tristan was a little bit quicker. Actually, no, it was, yeah, Tristan was a little bit quicker that last time round, but not by much. I think, by and large, Luke is very much at home here as Martin Kenyon now comes into the pits. And I think we need to look out for wherever Archie Craven is at this moment in time, because we saw Archie come in earlier, didn't we? To basically try and undercut, potentially, Martin. But Martin's been able to go longer with a lighter car, and actually that lighter car has helped him out because he was going quite a bit quicker on that last lap compared to Archie. Archie may have had traffic, but by the looks of things, that lighter car has really helped out Martin. Again, he's gotten running now. Flipping heck, that's really helped out Martin. He's flying.
Yeah, so Archie Craven's pit stop was 29 seconds. Martin Kenyon's was 27. Out he goes. Absolutely gone.
Even then, that doesn't really explain that massive gap, does it? That doesn't tell the full story. It might have been traffic, but for me, Martin's been really just the class of this Evo field.
To be fair, Archie had his spin, but that only cost him, what, 7 seconds. So we'll see what the gap comes down to now, as it's only just sort of updating and refreshing, but he's not going to be in second place. He's nearly, well, how long behind? It's coming down, it's updating, because obviously it's Dennis Collar that's next. He's about 21 seconds back still on Martin Kenyon, so... Yeah,
what was it, the pit stop? Was it 6, I think?
In terms
something like around about like 6 seconds, I think, was the gap between Craven and
yes,
Kenyon before the pit stops. So that's really worked out brilliantly for Martin at this moment in time. John Breitenbach as well, after his pit stops, find himself actually behind Martin. At this moment in time, that little spin did hurt him quite badly to John. A lot of the field coming in now for their pit stops as well. Got Matt Hoyland. You can hear him revving the living daylights out of his Lamborghini. Comes back down onto the jacks. He's taking the tyres, just waiting for the last little bit of fuel. Obviously, tyres done the same time as fuel. The driver's able to take, I think, a couple of tyres. They tend to take the fronts if they can, because those are the ones that take the majority of the punishment around here. That one coming out in 5th position. Carl for 6th. Luke King and Christopher Radloff also making their way out onto the circuit. We need to obviously shift our focus to watch the leaders, Luke Lucchese and Tristan de Nobrega. When are they going to come into the pits? Oh, Luke King battling away. Oh, that was very tasty, going all the way around the outside of Ian Cable.
Good stuff, that one. Good stuff indeed. He did cable tidy, you could say. Luke Lucchese comes into the pits. So too does Tristan de Nobrega. And the two race leaders that have been so fast so far have just really shown everybody how it's done. They must be really running the car now down to fumes. Nick Stubb is the one that leads the Premier class. He's 1.7 seconds ahead of Russell Jakes. Atty Nagel, James Bostock, John Ludbrook still yet to pit. We'll show you the pit stops on the left hand side so you can see who has pitted, who has not. Ian Cable hasn't pitted, that's why he was fighting there with Luke King. He's gained a lot of time from that. But after the pit stops in the Evo class have all been completed, it's Kenyon, Craven, Newton. Sounds like a really bad firm of solicitors and one with too many directors. But the Premier drivers now come in, so Stubb, Jakes, Nagel, Bostock, Ludbrook all in. And it's Marcel Breitenbach that will be the lead car by the time the stops are done. And the battles are going on all over the place. Archie Craven is actually right behind a Porsche, which is Mark Jardine in the elite class. And that's based on iRating, as that's not what you want to see if you're Archie, is having Mark's internet blink in and out like that. Scary, scary stuff. But Luke Lucchese has come back out of the pits and still has the overall race lead here, Ed. This is another flawless performance by one of the RDSA guys, but it could be any of them that win the race when there's a few of them here.
Yeah, it's really good, but Luke is just so comfortable, isn't he? Right out in front. Hasn't looked likely to, well, lose the lead of the race since basically the end of qualifying. This is a very, very impressive drive from him, but like I say, Tristan de Nobrega is slowly but surely reeling him in. I'm not sure if this is again though because of the traffic, because we did see Luke, I think, actually just getting ahead of Ashley Brooks, and I think now that Tristan's caught up to him. That gap has now increased to around about 4.3 seconds. Tristan might have had a little mistake there because that dropped by nearly half a second just coming through there.
Yeah, that's not the most normal of things to see from Tristan. He's very, very consistent. Just checking. What are the times like of the guys behind? Because it doesn't look like they've been able to match them at all over the last few laps. So they're actually quite comfortable at the front now, the RDSA cars. 5.8 seconds from Ryan Ottens to Matt Hoyland, and then it's another 7 or so seconds to Tristan Dinnebrega. Those guys were in the pits all about the same sort of time. We have a battle going on here though for the lead in the Premier class. Nick Stubb has pitted and come out in front of Marcel Breitenbach, so Nick Stubb through the pit stops has jumped him.
Oh, that's very, very impressive, isn't it, by Nick Stubb there? Really just, I guess, being off by himself has helped him to find that extra little bit of time, and I think leapfrog this one running back. That's Nagel as well. Having a good race, up 6 positions so far. One of the biggest movers in the field. Not the biggest. That honour goes to Danny Weir, 6th place in the Evo class, 24th overall. But you see Anthony Nagel is actually really trying to reel in. But look at this now, Marcel Breitenbach going for the lead of the Premier class, diving up the inside. Oh, that isn't actually on.
No.
I got a bit carried away.
That was
carried away there.
Owen Stewart with the lapped car there. Donnelly is off. Donnelly, one of the highest placed drivers in the Premier class. Seems like the JSD guys, if they're not all together, they're not having a good time here.
Yeah, looks like there's damage there on the left front as well. We're going to see if that car is driving straight or not. He's trying to get out of the way after rejoining. Didn't quite slow down enough. Maybe misjudged it just a touch there with Archie Craven's speed compared to his. Let's have a look now. Stephen Donnelly. Is it just a case of maybe going into the back of Lamborghini? Oh, yeah, he does. We'll have to see then if the car drives straight once he gets back onto the cycle. You can see there's quite a lot of damage from what looked like an innocuous hit.
Yeah, it's
on the front end.
Strange how that works sometimes, isn't it, with iRacing? How it'll be a massive amount of damage. Oh, excuse me. Apologies, everyone. It can either be a massive hit with next to no damage or the tiniest of touches and it'll rip the front end off the car. But still, we still have Martin Kenyon inside the top 10 here, and he's doing a wonderful job of not only being ahead of one of the elite class drivers, but also being ahead of the entire Premier class. That's why on the left-hand side of your screen it shows the Evo class ahead of Premier. Crossing the line to continue another lap into the second half of the race here at Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari for the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. Chaz Draycott and Ed May in the commentary box, and up in the top right corner are series sponsors Kame Medius, Keenan Eco Energy, GitGud Racing and AB Designs. And still plenty to fight for here, Ed. So many battles still to be had. But in terms of the conditions, stayed quite stable, hasn't it? So lap times aren't really falling.
Yeah, they are sort of just managing at the moment as well. Obviously, with the tyres becoming more and more worn and the track becoming more rubbered in, it kind of balances itself out. So times, like you say, haven't really been falling too hard. You might expect a bit more of a peak towards the end of the race when the track is as rubbered in as it can be and the cars are as light as possible. You might see some time start to fall, but for now, they are basically just managing the pace for the moment. It's Archie Craven a little bit wide coming out of Tosa. Is that going to give an opportunity for Stephen Donnelly? He's going to look right the way up the crest and in towards Rotella. Oh, Archie, very brave, very committed. Knew that he'd be able to carry more speed going all the way around the outside onto the traditional racing line, and by forcing, or basically by seeing that Stephen Donnelly was taking the tighter line, didn't have enough space, but oh dearie me, this is all going completely south for Stephen Donnelly. Well held, how did he not loop that thing around?
I want to see John Ludbrook's view of this, because Gareth Newton gets very close, but then he comes the other way, look. So they've both gone deep. He just misses him and then he suddenly comes left. Oh, that is so close. That was ridiculous. But yeah, well held by Stephen Donnelly. He's lost a lot of ground, but I'm sure he'd rather still be in the race. But right now, it's still Nick Stubb leading the way in Premier. He's a little bit deep into Tamburello that time round. Marcel Breitenbach closing in by 1/10 of a second or so, based on what we see from our live timing. But it's Porsche versus Audi. Ati Nagel up there as well. He's gained 6 places in this race so far. Good to see Ati running well yet again, because didn't he win the very first race of the season at Fuji or something? I think he was one of
he did, yeah. I think he was very impressive at Fuji. Managed to, let's say, get the victory in his first outing. But then it's just not quite been there for him. He's had another race victory later on in the season, round 9, but since then he's not really been on the podium. He's only ever been on the podium when he's won a race, funnily enough, for anything else. This will be his first trip to the podium without being on the top step. Let's have a look at Stephen Donnelly. Frequent feature on the podium. Currently on for not really his best result of the season. 8th was where he started the season at Fuji, but we have seen him onto the podiums fairly often, so for this race to go the way it has got to be a real disappointment, especially when you consider that this is a chance for him to really close down the advantage that his teammate Joe Sparrow has been able to create at the top of the Premier Class. This was Stephen's chance to really take the championship by the scruff of the neck, and towards the closing stages you won't be given many more opportunities such as this. He's going to be left kicking himself, I think. Obviously, not all the incidents were his own fault, but I think he's been pushing a little bit harder. We did see through Aqua Minerale that was a spin that was not really through any sort of contact initiation. So unfortunately for Stephen, it's just been a very frustrating evening for him. But sometimes you'll have that, and to overcome it into the next round is going to really see if he's got the mark of a champion or not. As Martin Kenyon, rare slip up from him, but he's got the time to burn, really, doesn't he? He's got 25 seconds to Craven, so he doesn't want to make a habit of it, but he can afford a little misstep like that. Is this maybe just a touch of the grass on the way in towards Villeneuve, or was it maybe touches on the way in and then realises if he turns in onto that grass, it's going to go horribly south for him? So he does the better thing and realises, no, just going to go straight on and deal with the slowdown penalty.
Yeah, that was a good bit of quick self-preservation there from Martin Kenyon. He may have gone off, he may have lost a couple of seconds, but he'd rather that than risk ploughing the car into a barrier. We have 23 minutes left to go here at Imola. Quite a tame race, this one, this time round. We've been speaking in the Discord about the fact that there may not be as much overtaking here tonight, but there has still been plenty of it. But it's really sort of shaken the field up quite a bit here. We've got the Evo class still ahead of Premier, but the cars aren't all massively close together. They've sort of spread out a little bit because it's hard to follow another car around here, isn't it, Ed? That's another thing that comes with how complicated and tricky this track is. You've got so many apexes that are reliant on, well, being seen, that if you come to a blind apex, you just can't have the confidence when you're right behind another car, can you? So you have to just take your time and really be careful when you are the following machine.
Yeah, you do really have to be so delicate with it, because closing speeds can catch you out. Right now, though, Stephen Donnelly has to focus on getting through Dinner's Caller before he can worry about getting any real points in his class. Of course, drivers score points based on where they finish in class, not on the road. So while Stephen Donnelly is in 22nd overall, he's 8th in class, and he's got John Ludbrook just ahead of the Wilstein liveried Porsche in front of Dennis Kohler. So he's made 2 positions before he effectively makes 1 position in his class, if that makes sense.
Yes, indeed, it would be 2 of the overall positions, but yeah, in terms of championship points and what he'll gain in the bigger picture, nothing quite as significant. Luke Lucchese, flies past down the start-finish straight and into Tamburello once again. He has completed 22 laps of this circuit so far. This is now lap 23 of this race here in the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. Luke will, with this sort of performance, go into the championship lead, I'm very sure. His teammate Tristan Dinabrega will not be too far behind. Ryan Otton's holding on to 3rd place at the moment, but he's some 8.7 seconds back. These guys at the very front, once again putting in some incredible pace. But the battle for 2nd position here in the Premier class is very much on now, Ed. Ati Nagel, after gaining 6 places so far in this race, He's right with the back of that Audi.
Really up there now. So trying to chase down Marcel Breitenbach, and Atty maybe didn't have the best qualifying, but in the race his pace has been sublime. He's been really on it, and now he can try and focus on Marcel Breitenbach. That Audi looks very nice and sharp through the corners, but just on the brakes, Atty, his Porsche really just does have the upper hand again. Over the curbs nicely. This Porsche seems so finely balanced, where the Audi always looks like a handful, doesn't it, when you just look at it from an outside perspective. Of them aiming for that later apex. Marcel getting a slightly better run out of the corner, and I think Marcel as well can't afford to get sucked into this battle, because if he does, he loses out to Nick Stube up ahead. Don't forget, this is the three-way fight for the lead of the Premier class. Nick in the lead in the Porsche. You can just see the white rear end going up through Minerale now. That is the target both of them are trying to chase down, and actually Marcel over this lap has been able to reel in Porsche up ahead. So while not only worrying about the cars behind, he's actually more focused on the car in front, and he's really pushing hard for it now.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to see this, but this is not a place you want to be if you're Marcel Breitenbach, because you want to just focus on that car ahead of you and that class lead, but at the same time you've got somebody else in very close proximity that could also gain the same thing if it just goes that slight bit wrong for you, and they're all sort of closing in on each other. Let's have a look at what the lap times are like now. You'll see them slide out on the left hand side, everybody, but we'll have, as they cross the line, less than 20 minutes to go in this race. It's a 44.3 for Stubb, 43.2, wow, for Breitenbach, and then Atty Nagel as well, just 1/10 off Breitenbach. So yeah, they really have closed in on each other this time round. Nick Stubbs' lead cut down by 1.1 seconds on that lap, but there, look, Breitenbach slightly wide, loses a bit of pace, and now Nagel wants to try and take advantage of this as well. So this is really on here. The Premier class has been brilliant since the start of this, and since, to be fair, it's been, I'd say, the highlight class the whole time that we've been commentating on this series, but goodness me, these boys have been really, really close now, and it's only going to get closer as Atty Nagel surely wants to try and make a move. Or does he, Ed? Because if he makes a move and he slows down him and Marcel, then they're going to lose the time again to Nick Stubb and have to do all the hard work again.
Yeah, they can't really get too distracted with one another. And Atty, I think, realises this. Ooh. Well, Martin Kenyon, he nearly got beached on... that would have been an absolute nightmare if he got beached on that sausage curb on the inside. It's lost him a huge chunk of time. It's just through Minerale, and it's actually over the curb where the car gets bounced up into the air. Let's have a look. What is the gap to Craven? It is 14 seconds. That was 10 seconds lost by Martin just through a little spin. All of a sudden, the consistency of Martin is just starting to waver a little bit. This could be a wobble, or it could be a sign of potential collapse. We'll have to keep watching. But for now, Martin Kenyon still has that lead over Archie Craven. 13, nearly 14 seconds the gap between first and second in Evo. Still, it's a comfortable gap, but if he has a few more moments, it could quickly become uncomfortable for Martin.
Yeah.
All Archie and Gareth can do is focus on each other. Maybe not quite battling in case Martin has another moment, and they don't want to lose any time, but probably start to see them battle sooner rather than later. Again, just a little bit wide of the apex, pushing hard as Archie knows that Martin's struggling, but by doing so, you can really see that that Audi is not comfortable at all, just through the direction change. Very snaky on the exit. Maybe just a case of the tyres getting cooked a little, as we have now started to get a little bit more direct sunlight on the circuit. I think the track has gotten a bit warmer.
I think the time has stayed static, you know.
Or has it static? It just seems to be a little bit brighter out here for some reason.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does, yeah. There's more of a reflection, but yeah, it's still 9:10 in the sim. They have static weather, so it's not been sort of baking the circuit, but it's definitely brighter. I agree. It certainly doesn't look the same, I don't think, because the shadows, I thought, down here in particular, where we started the race, were a little bit longer in the screen or in the shot. As Archie again going deep. Gareth Newton's one to watch here, you know, because even if Martin loses a second for every minute of this race that's left, that will be too much. So he can't really take his foot off the throttle here, can Martin Kenyon. He can't really relax. These guys aren't reeling him in at a rate of knots or anything, but all it takes is a couple of mistakes like that and you will really throw away all of your time. He's got 1.4 seconds to Hussein Sarakadesla behind him, and he wants these boys really to start fighting, doesn't he? He wants Archie to defend hard here from Gareth Newton, and he wants Gareth to have to work overtime to try and get through.
Here we go then. Archie Craven once more having to go another lap with Gareth Newton right there behind him. All the while out in front in the Premier class, it's once more close between Stu Breitenbach and Nagel, and they're very, very tight together. Tighter line being taken there by Breitenbach. Nick Stube running a slightly wider line to punch out of the corner with a bit more exit speed to keep that Audi at bay in towards Piratella. But these three have really closed up to one another now, Chaz. This is into the final 15 minutes where we do often see a lot of the action sort of burst into life. And through Minerale, you need to be really careful just through the concertina effect to not go into the back of the car you're chasing down. Marcel and Atty really hungry for this. You can just see now with a good exit of Breitenbach. Might not be able to make a move in towards the final couple of corners, but can certainly set up a nice good exit and a run in towards turn one.
Yeah, definitely. The three of them so close together. This is what we love to see, though, as these close battles in this championship. Two different cars as well, the Porsche and the Audi, so you get to see the strengths and weaknesses of both. And this is coming to crunch time now, but you're absolutely right, Ed. We do tend to see the action sort of explode onto our screens in the final moments when the drivers realise where they're at, who they're fighting with, what they've got left of the race, what they need to do. As Christopher Radloff doesn't need to do that. Wow. Kisses the grass there, has a real wobble one way then the other. And John Breitenbach is putting him under pressure in the fellow Porsche. Back up the hill. Love riding on board with this car. It sounds so good. As they go up towards Piratella. What can John Breitenbach do? He can tell that he's getting into Radloff's head a little bit, but look at the understeer there. The tyres not feeling their best through that part of the circuit, you can see. I'm going to be hoping for a little bit more traction as the race continues on. Ooh, it just looks like they're going way too quick into there every time, doesn't it?
It really does, but somehow they make it work. It's the sense of speed you get on board with these cars, and very impressive just to see. Watching Jean Breitenbach. Watching the other Breitenbach earlier, now watching Jean trying to chase down and overtake Christopher Radloff. Radloff as well having a great recovery drive, I think it's fair to say. We saw him involved, didn't we, earlier on, basically lap one, off the road at the Villeneuve chicane, trying to avoid a big incident, and while he did lose a lot of places, didn't seem to hamper his efforts to charge back through the field with a nice, clean, undamaged car. Now it's all about the exit out of this corner, and every single time Nick Stubb struggles earlier on in the lap, but here is where he's really able to punch out that corner and keep Marcel at bay. And if you want to be quick out of any corner, Imola, you want to be quick out of the final one, don't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Huge run down here towards Tambirello. Atty Nagel is going to look for it down the inside of Breitenbach, but no. Marcel still confident enough to hold the car through the corner, and look, Atty's actually cost himself about half a car length there as they exit. Now down towards the Villeneuve chicane, through the left, really attacking the curb there actually, as wide of it the second time was Marcel. Atty Nagel throwing it across those curves. Like Ed pointed out earlier, everybody, this Porsche is so much more comfortable over the curbs. It's just a really stable platform, the 911-992 GT3R. It's an epic machine. Nick Stubb doing a great job though at leading this class. It looked like it was Marcel's to lose earlier, and Nick has managed to turn it around in the Glass Tech Academy machine. And with only 11.5 minutes left on the clock, he holds on to that class lead. Marcel, I mean, we saw it a lap or so ago, didn't we? He's very confident on the brakes into there. That's one place where the Audi, way back when I used to drive it, was an absolute horror show into there. I remember having so many accidents there, but it seems like that's its strength. Look at it.
Yeah, it's very very impressive now, and this could be a chance for Marcel. He knows that he's not strong enough out of that final corner to make any moves. Can he dive up the inside now in towards the second to last corner? No, but it gets ever so close, doesn't he? Right up to the rear bumper, but then just doesn't quite have the legs through that final corner to stay with him.
Yeah, look at that. Ati Nagel is now the one that's closer. I'm not sure he's going to get much in the way of slipstream here.
And I think for Marcel, he's going to have to try and throw a move on a less predictable area of the circuit, because coming into turn one, he's just too far back because of the poor runs that he's getting out of that final corner in comparison to Nick Stu. He has to try it maybe in another orthodox area from areas where he's probably strongest. If he can get a good run, maybe out of Aqua Minerale in towards Grassini, could be an opportunity for him. And that maybe in towards that second to last corner, because all of the time when he's coming out of Grassini, he's really quick. And at Inagal, actually, with a moment, you can hear the wheel spin, sending him just flying back just a touch from this battle. Won't need to worry though, because he'll be able to catch up with a double helping of the slipstream on the start finish straight. Just means he won't be in with any chance of overtaking Marcel, at least this time around. Once more though, look at the pair of them out in front, nose to tail as they make their way in towards Grassini. It's all about just getting the exit nailed here for Marcel and opening out that final corner on the power. That's all that top end speed, isn't it, for the Audi? It doesn't quite have the drive out of the corners, but when it gets sort of to the higher end of the gears, it's when it's maybe got a little bit more pace.
Yeah, definitely. There's strengths and weaknesses around the circuit here, for sure. It's great to see this battle, though. Absolutely loving this one at the moment. There's a few battles further back as well. We've got Archie Craven and Gareth Newton fighting over second place still in the Evo class. They've also got John Ludbrook, Dennis Culler and Stephen Donnelly behind, but they're all in different classes, so there isn't so much for championship points. It's not as imperative to any of them to overtake one another, but the main one here is for this class lead with just 8.5 minutes left. And this has just been another solid round of the championship. Not as busy as we've seen in other rounds, admittedly, though, Ed. You know, this hasn't been quite the highlight of the season, this one, but through no fault of any drivers or anybody at all. It's just the circuit, while it's a fantastic venue and it's a legendary place, the cars around here just haven't really clicked with it and been as busy, have they? Because of how much the drivers have to hold back, because it's a scary old place to race.
Yeah, which is a shame, really, because I absolutely love this circuit. It's one of my favourites just to race around. Maybe not in GT3 cars. That's just maybe, like you say, they're a little bit too big, a bit too powerful for a track such as this. I think GT4s, you can have a decent racing around here, but I don't think anything much quicker than this. But here we go. Oh, up the hill. Here we are now. Is there going to be any chance for a move up the inside for Marcel? No, not quite. But again, so tight, isn't it, when they get nose to tail? Marcel's just having to pull his punches a little just to avoid coming into the back end of Nick.
It does say please no punterino, Marcel. You can read that, can't you? That was so close. But again, we've seen it in the GT4 racing that we commentate on, Ed. They always say that the Porsche is really good on the brakes, the little Cayman. It seems like the Audi has that same sort of strength, and with the same amount of, I don't know, apparentness. It's like, you know what I mean? It's very clear that that car is so strong on the brakes. There's such an advantage. So it's interesting to see Marcel try and make the most of it. John Ludbrook just kissing the grass a little bit there into Rivazza. Stephen Donnelly will want to get rid of Dennis Collar here as quickly as possible, but Dennis, he's in the class below these guys, and he's right between them for the time being as there is a change, and Hussein Saraka-Desla is off and in the wall. Saraka-Desla from near the very front of the Premier class, not quite in the battle that we were looking at earlier. Oof, hello. That was very close to Mark Jardine there. As we go back to this, because they're all even closer together just then, and then it's all spread out again. What's happened to Hussein? Let's chill out a second, Ed, and figure this one out. Oh, not teammates. Oh, James. James. No, James. Oh, I don't know.
Hussein over the curb, it sends him out wide, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it sends him wide and then he bounces off the side of James's Porsche, doesn't he? Yeah. Oh, I'm not even sure there's contact, to be honest. I'm not even sure there was contact there. It was very close, and if it was contact, it was netcode. Ooh, Donnelly with a bit of a slide through Piratella, but he's ahead of Dennis Collar, and I think Dennis may be just conceding that one now, finally knowing that he has to sort of get out of the way of those guys.
Yeah, it seems to be one of those races where it's threatened to have some great action and just maybe start to fade away. But here we go now. Christopher Radloff just with the speed around the outside.
So confident.
Yeah, it's the bravery, isn't it? But again, just to know, obviously, you can have the outside for... I'll have the outside for turn 1, but then through turn 2, it's sort of basically the final nail in the coffin, isn't it? Where you can just pull away and... Oh, a little bit out of shape. Does he leave the inside for Tosa? No, he doesn't. Is this going to compromise his run out all the way up towards... Not quite again. He's just seemingly so confident with the space that he gives to know that coming out of the corners, he'll be coming out on top, but now in towards Piratella. So difficult, isn't it? Just when you have the car in behind to not go into the back of the car in front. It does mean you need to back off just a touch, but Jean Breitenbach, he's going to be getting frustrated now because he seems to have the pace, doesn't he? To really race with him and to get ahead, but it's a great defensive drive. You can't say anything more than that, can you, at Christopher Radloff? That he's putting his car in their perfect places to hold on to that 7th place.
Yeah, and let's not forget as well that Jean Breitenbach qualified right near the front of the grid, and he was right behind Ryan Ottens for the early stages of this race, trying to take a podium spot. He got right with him and then had his little moment and was off the road. And that's what's dropped him down into this fight with Christopher Radloff putting behind Luke King. Paul Cowlishaw and Matt Hoyland in the Lamborghinis have both had very quiet races. So too have Ryan Ottens and Tristan Dinnebrega. The whole top 5 really, even top 6 with Luke King involved, has been very, very tame. Not a lot going on there. We go back to this once more though with just 4 minutes left on the clock. And again, Marcel Breitenbach right behind Nick Stubb for the class win here in the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. This is the Premier Class, and this is the closest he's been, I'd say. He's going to get some good slipstream off this. Not sure if he's going to go for it yet, though. I think that's him saying, no, I'm not going to attack. What do you reckon?
Yeah, he's, again, just making it very obvious that he's not going to attack this time. But maybe it'll have to be sooner rather than later, because with 3.5 minutes to go, the opportunities will become few and far between. Attinagel, actually, just going back to the Premier Class fight for the lead, has dropped back again from Marcel Breitenbach, which means it's just Marcel and Nick Stubb out battling for the lead of this race. I'm not so sure if we're going to see Marcel able to get it nailed, though. Unless he can really have the best exit out of that final corner, he's just going to struggle to find any way through. Because while he does have the pace, again, being the car ahead on such a narrow, tight circuit, it's just a massive advantage.
We've just seen Stephen Donnelly going through the pit lane. He went off the track on the last lap. I think he's gone over the incident limit and had a drive-through. Same for Francois Brandet as well, who had a bit of a moment. So he's also hit the incident limit and, of course, had to serve drive-through penalties. So those guys getting penalised, getting a slap on the wrists, having to serve a drive-through. Luke Lucchese, race leader out right there. He is popping very beautifully over the hill in the RDSA Esports Porsche. Completely untouched at the moment in the race lead. Has been since the very start. Even the first time we cut back to him, actually, after the race start, he was a good second or so clear over the top of Piratella. And nobody has been able to touch him since. Jean Breitenbach still trying to get past Christopher Radloff here. This is for 7th and 8th position in class, though, after qualifying earlier. That's not what Jean would have wanted from this one. So still plenty to look at, plenty to keep an eye on. But we've only got one more lap after this one, I'd say, Ed, as Luke Lucchese now, yeah, it's 1 minute 41 a lap, and that's just ticking over now. So Luke Lucchese will start the final and 35th lap here at Imola.
Here we go. And what a drive it's been. We haven't really seen much of Luke, have we, Chaz? It's been a nice quiet race for him, but that's usually the best ones to have when you're not in any sort of threat or trouble. Just push on and have a really, really solid drive, and that's exactly what we've seen. To build the gap as well, it's now 8 seconds to his teammate, and we know Tristan's no slouch either. That lap times roughly very close, but I think it's just the consistency, isn't it, from Luke that's been able to see him come out on top here tonight. Ryan Otton's there in the 3rd place. He's not slow either, but he's 20 seconds back from our race leader. And we come to, again, this little scrap. Jean Breitenbach and Christopher Radloff. As Jean get good exit. He seems to be nice and quick coming out of the corner, so this could be his one and only chance to get up into 7th place and see the closing speed now. Which way is Christopher Radloff going to go to defend? He's going for the tighter inside line. Jean Breitenbach all the way around the outside. Can he be late enough on the brakes to get the inside for the next corner? No, he's had to be muscled out of the way there and parking it on the exit beautifully there. Christopher Radloff through the inside of the right-hander. Wonderful move. And now here we go, this other move, Chaz.
Indeed, Nick Stubbs still too far ahead of Breitenbach for him to make a move. Ati Nagel back on the scene now for 3rd position, and he wants a bit of this as well. I was fully expecting that, to be fair, Jean Breitenbach and Christopher Radloff were going to make contact there. I thought that he was just going to tap the back of him, but he had good awareness to back out of that one, and it was very, very close between the pair of them. This is great, though, between these guys, but right at the front, Luke Lucchese, take a bow, sunshine, takes a win in the elite class here at Imola. A great drive by him, absolutely decimated the competition. Tristan Dinabrega next up, but we need to go back and have a look. Ryan Ottens is going to take 3rd place, but I'm sorry everyone, we need to keep our eye on this battle because this could erupt very quickly, or it could just stay as it is because Nick Stubb, he's done a great job so far, Ed, touch wood.
Yeah, hopefully for Nick Stubb, he's able to hang on to this lead that he's been working so hard to defend in this Premier Class fight. It's Gareth Newton.
He's just lost the podium spot.
And he's out of the podium.
That's on to the final lap. Gareth Newton off and in the barriers. He was fighting with Dennis Collar, so we might have to look back and see what happened there. But into the final couple of corners now. Nick Stubb with Marcel Breitenbach right behind him into Rivazza once more. This is the top 3 for the Premier Class. What a battle it's been to watch, but he's going to get it done. Nick Stubb gets a great final exit out the last corner, and he's going to take the checkered flag and win in the Premier Class in round 13 of the championship ahead of Marcel Breitenbach and Ati Nagel. Great stuff by those guys. And just behind, Martin Kenyon takes a fantastic victory in the Evo class. He's going to be a good 16, no, even more than that actually. 19 seconds ahead of Archie Craven in the Audi. Archie worked very hard for that one, but the spin earlier and getting stuck in traffic really, really hurt him. But still, big championship points for them, and they will both jump Malo TA in the championship hunt, I'm sure. Great stuff by Dennis Collar. That's his first podium for a while. He'll be happy to grab that one. Let's just have a quick look at what happened to Gareth Newton on that final lap. Is he just going to hit the curb on the exit and just touch the... Oh, no, it's a hardware problem.
Oh, dear.
I was going to say because he stayed sat on the circuit for a long time afterwards. Oh, that's such a shame for Gareth. Such a shame. But Luke Lucchese is the man that takes the victory. And what a brilliant, brilliant win that was for him. Very, very well done. Another great win for RDSA Esports. And we'll go through the race results now, class by class. I'll show you how that one finished. Luke Lucchese wins 8.8 seconds clear of his teammate Tristan Dinabrega. Another 1-2 for RDSA. Unfortunately, no Troy Dolinchek here tonight, but still very well done by the boys. Ryan Ottens gets another podium. Great points for him in his championship fight. Matt Hoyland was next up in 4th. Paul Cowlishaw finishes in 5th place, ahead of Luke King in 6th. Christopher Radloff finishes 7th, holding off Jean Breitenbach brilliantly to the end. Joe Glass eventually finished in 9th place, with Mark Jardine getting 10th on his debut, ahead of Ian Cable in 11th spot. And now, over to Ed May with the Premier Class, and the weather.
And the weather, it's sunny. There we go, and it's been a sunny, bright day for Nick Stubb. He had to weather the storm a touch to keep Marcel Breitenbach and Adi Nagel away, but it was nice and clean in the end for Nick, who was able to come through with a brilliant defensive drive in the lead of the Premier Class, taking the class victory ahead of Marcel Breitenbach, who fought well but had to settle for 2nd. He'd take that, to be fair, considering Ati Nagel was right up behind him for those closing stages. He finishes in 3rd, going for his 3rd podium of the season. Russell Jakes in 4th, was actually closing down because of all of that battling, ended up just 5 seconds shy of the Premier Class lead, with James Bostock there in 5th. Hussein Sarakar Desler finished in 6th ahead of John Lodbrok, with Bruno Silva and Stephen Donnelly 8th and 9th finishing 1 lap down. Scott Kostrick, Robin Aston 18 and 24 laps down, 10th and 11th.
Thank you very much, Ed. We move on, last but no least, to the Evo class. What a win by Martin Kenyon. He takes the win by nearly 20 seconds from Archie Craven, who's just said a massive congrats in Discord. Dennis Collar gets a podium. First one he's had for a little while, but still right up there in the championship. Next up was Gareth Newton, who is classified in 4th place despite that issue. Danny Weir is 5th, with Francois Brandet in 6th. He had a drive-through penalty. So too, Josie Preston did not. Robin Noel Brown was next up in 8th place, James Howarth 9th. And then we actually had Ashley Brooks finishing inside the top 10. Despite his issue early on, he still recovered. Graham Matthew was in 11th, with Owen Seward in 12th. And Chris Keenan does not complete the race. He had a bit of a torrid time in that Ferrari in the opening stages. But what a great race, Ed. Plenty going on, as always. Not the most lively race we've had from the championship, it has to be said. With no disrespect to anybody or anyone involved, as we eventually get back to replays. We'll see who we've got for a chat here, actually. And we'll bring in a driver that we've not spoken to for a little while. He just missed out on a podium tonight, but Matt Hoyland joins us in the box. There was a lovely little build-up to that there, Matt, with the car coming over the hill. First off, how was that for you? Because Imola, as we've said all night, it's not easy.
No, it's really difficult. Qualifying was, well, I thought it was going to be king, and I knew full well that I'd messed up qualifying, as I always do. So I was a lot further back than I wanted to be, and I was behind the Prem and the Evo front runners, which sort of really concerned me. I was like, I've really got to clear these guys quick, because then obviously they're not going to want to give any time up, because I've got so many of their competition behind me. But luckily I got a really good start, unfortunately at the expense of my teammate Joe. He had a bit of a shocker off the start, but yeah, otherwise really pleased. Pace were good. Car was okay once it got onto lighter fuel. It was a little bit twitchy and unsettled once we'd pitted. But once it got settled in again, I found I was running decent pace. I was sort of going backwards and forwards with Ryan and Paul in front and behind on lap time. So it was nice to feel like I was there on merit rather than just looking into position. But yeah, really good race. I can't complain. Obviously after missing last week as well, it was nice to come back and get a good result.
I was going to say, because the talking point for us was that the curbs here are such a nightmare. The Lamborghini doesn't like curbs, but it seemed like it handled it a little bit better than we expected. Did it feel that way in the cockpit?
Yeah, it depends on the curb, to be totally honest. It's a bit weird. Although they all look the same, some of them you can touch, some of them you can't touch. So some of them, they won't launch you to Mars as such, but they did make you physically bounce and would really unsettle it for a couple of seconds. But some of the others you could fully cut some of them, and especially I forgot the name of it, the last of the chicanes where you've got the really tall curbs. For some reason, they're the least affected on the car. I don't know why. You could really abuse them, and you had to really, or you were giving too much time up. But yeah, car was good. You just had to be careful what you were hitting, that's all.
Well, it's always good to be kept on your toes, I suppose, by these machines, and certainly the circuit helped add to that tonight. Next time round, obviously, we have another very exciting sprint race round. 2 races at Road America. It's quite a good circuit for GT3 cars, don't you agree?
Yeah, yes and no. Like, I do like the track. I haven't raced it all that much in comparison to some of the more traditional, well-known tracks like this. And I know when we were there last season, I had a nightmare. I think I spun on the first lap and ended up dead last. But anyway, we'll forget that. We'll go in with a positive mindset. But yeah, it usually produces good racing. Obviously, it's completely different to Imola. You're going from really sort of almost slow as far as track goes to a really fast track. So yeah, hopefully it could flip sort of the dynamic of the cars on its head a little bit. But yeah, it should be good fun.
Well, we look forward to seeing how you get on again. Matt, thank you very much for jumping in with us. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick thanks to before you go?
Yeah, just as always, I'll shout out my DXT guys. Obviously, we're a bit light today. No Rob battling in Premier. And also to Glass Steak. Just unfortunate for Joe. I was hoping we were both going to be able to get into that sort of podium fight, but wasn't to be. But yeah, hopefully we'll regroup and come back stronger next week.
Cracking stuff. Great to speak to you as always, Matt. Thanks once again, and we'll see you at Road America.
Cheers, guys. Catch you later.
Cheers. Well, interesting to know that the curbs are so sensitive individually there, Ed, on a circuit like this. But I suppose there's a lot of them, isn't there, around this track that are all quite different. There's some that are massive sausage curbs. Others, they're sort of like rails that you go along, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's about the drivers being able to put the practice in to know exactly what cabs they can hit, other ones that they can't. And this way you basically make the best benefit from practicing around here. It's best to learn, obviously, in an isolated practice session, sort of days in advance of the race, not, midway through the race. You find out, you can't take that curb, and you only find out when you're facing backwards into a barrier.
Yeah, very true. Very true, and nobody wants to be there quite like that. A driver that will have wanted to not quite be where he ended up tonight was Francois Brandet. 6th position for Francois tonight. Not quite the performance you were after tonight, buddy, but still a busy race for you. That must have been still quite exciting.
Yeah, busy is the word. I was like 5th for the whole race, then played the team game, letting Danny by because he's actually in contention for any position in the championship. So yeah, a quiet race on my end, but definitely exciting start as you would expect for Imola.
Oh, absolutely. We were just saying to Matt Hoyland there that this circuit certainly throws up a lot of drivers that have to exercise caution, so to speak. But it seemed like the Porsche was again the car to be in because it's such a comfortable car, isn't it, at a place like this?
Yeah, especially since I've been driving the Porsche for since I started iRacing as a whole. So it's definitely the car I feel the most comfortable in. And I remember joining ESR last year around the time Imola was up for it. Actually, you think of the past and how you were not good last year and how you're still not very good this year.
Well, I'm sure you've improved, Francois. We've seen some fantastic performances as it's gone on, but it's tough in a field like this because, I mean, we never know who's going to win a race week on week, do we? It's a bit all over the place this season.
Yeah, and that's exciting. I think it would be a little bit boring if you were to, always qualify first or fourth. Sorry, because the top 3 would only lock up, in between themselves. But we have Martin and Archie at the minute being the drivers on form, and I think those two will really be the 2 drivers to watch till the end of the season. I think. Obviously, Malo missing a lot of races because of life. Same for me and the others. But yeah, it's not as bad, being 5th or 6th rather, when you have that much of a spectacle in front of you. Really, really skilled drivers in even Evo.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been exciting on all counts because there's always somebody to fight with. We look forward to seeing you at Road America next time out. But before then, is there anyone you'd like to give a quick thanks to while we've got you?
Yeah, as always, my brothers in DXT, people spotting the chat, and you two guys, as always, with the quality broadcast, and it's nice having you back, Ed, with us.
All right, thank you. It's good to be back, and fingers crossed I'll be here for the remainder of the season. Well, as close to tip-top as I can be, but thank you very much, Francois. It means a lot.
Have a good night, lads.
Yeah, thank you, Francois. Good to see you, and we'll speak to you soon. Cheers. Cracking stuff. Lovely, lovely stuff. And unfortunately, that is all we have in terms of interviews for this evening. No other drivers popping in. But an interesting night, Ed. A very challenging circuit, this one. I think there's probably mixed reviews amongst the drivers from what they've had tonight. But a lot of them will have just been happy to have survived that one, won't they?
Yeah, that's the thing. When you get to this late stage of the season, surviving is, I think, priority number 1 for the drivers that were able to get that under their belts. They're going to be very happy because there was some huge dramas that happened. Obviously, a few incidents, both sort of with other drivers, but also self-inflicted. And that's just the nature when you get to this late stage of the season. The pressure begins to mount. We've only got 3 more race meetings, Chaz. 5 more races for the drivers to make any sort of dent on their championship that they can. We'll have to see what happens, though. It's going to be getting very close.
It's going to be crunch time before you know it. Thanks once again for joining me, Ed. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you also to the championship sponsors, Kame, Medius, Keenan Eco Energy, GitGud Racing and AB Designs, and also the championship organisers as well for having us here at Chaz Draycott Media. That's all for now though, everybody. In a week's time we'll be heading to Road America, and we hope to see you then. Have a good night. Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. They're 3 wide again. Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across. They're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. You know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and a first to show off. Back there, go on board with Ben Gregory now. I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out GitGudRacing.com. I've coached hundreds of drivers from real-life racers to sim enthusiasts who experience rapid improvement after just one session. And while investing in top-notch hardware is great, imagine how much more you can elevate your experience by adding coaching to the mix. My methods are practical, aiming to break down complex concepts into easily digestible bits that are simple to understand. You can find reviews of the sessions I've conducted on the Fiverr link provided in the video description. Let's elevate your racing skills together. Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out the GitGud course. Instead of just understanding concepts, you'll learn how to implement them directly into your driving. What makes it effective is the approach and practical drills. Together, we're gonna focus on breaking down those complex concepts into small digestible bits that are simple to understand. Everything from the course was tested and refined during the years in coaching sessions, so what I ended up with was the ones that I saw were the most effective. Let's elevate your racing skills together.